Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. This is our very first live stream. So thank you for taking a few moments to join us from wherever you're at. This beautiful room where I'm standing is our new state-of-the-art black box theater in our newest project and building, 447 Minna. And it is what we hope will host many performances, rehearsals, exhibitions, and screenings. So, to kick it off, we'll have our first screening here, and you'll be here watching it. Welcome to 447 Minna. At CAST, we believe that arts and culture are essential to our communities and our neighborhoods. Arts and culture organizations in particular, such as Women's Audio Mission, WAM, and Push Dance, who are making their new home at 447 Minna, are essential to our city because they're pushing the boundaries of creativity and equity while also creating community cohesion.
Once mostly an industrial district of printing presses, welders, repair shops, and dance clubs, is now hotels, art spaces, entertainment, and warehouses. The historic Dempster Building is one of the few remnants of this bygone era. So how do we make sure that it stays that way? How do we make sure that arts and culture can afford to thrive in this neighborhood, in this city, in the Bay Area?
You know, it doesn't work to just say we're against gentrification. We need to be saying we are for buying up these parcels of land and making sure that communities can live here and grow here and celebrate here.
It was 2012 when I was first introduced to CAST, before CAST was really even CAST. We met together and saw the building at 80 Turk Street in the Tenderloin that would become the future home and permanent home of Counterpulse. Together, we built the plane as we flew it, envisioning lease documents and engaging funders and the community in supporting what we were doing there. We were faced with eviction. Space is really important for the work of supporting artists who make dance, artists who make visual arts. It provides the container and the conditions for the practice. And over the past 7 years, Counterpulse has been able to both broaden and deepen our programs in supporting artists in San Francisco specifically, but also across the entire Bay Area.
It can't just be artists and cultural workers telling these stories about cultural spaces. You need someone that has development savvy, that knows commercial real estate, that knows how to put funding packages together like that, that knows how to acquire land.
Who is CAST? We are a team of real estate experts, financial gurus, community activists, and artists. We're working in San Francisco and Oakland to shift the real estate paradigm and make sure that artists can afford to be here. We have secured 30,000 square feet so far, with another 150,000 square feet in the pipeline, and we have raised $42 million to date. CAST has reimagined the space as a dedicated cultural center and small performance venue hosting arts and cultural events, workshops, pop-ups, and community activities. Adding to the legacy of cultural spaces that have long anchored the Soma neighborhood, 447 Minna will provide a home for artists and culture bearers to dream and be fearless. We've built out these spaces for people to take chances and experiment, to imagine new works, and bring people together to create and share art. The arts bring people together, communities together.
The struggle is real, and it feels and seems often quite bleak. But where's the joy? It's in the community.
The joy is in spaces that wrap around an experience, an artist's untapped vision, a community organizer deeply rooted in culture. The joy is here.
This project is our collective commitment, CAS, and so many people who have worked with us, donors, investors, artists, community members, to really hold, create, and steward the cultural soul of this neighborhood and of the Bay Area. Thank you, CB and Together Pictures, for that beautiful film on 447 Minna. So now, hopefully, you have some sense of what we envision here in this new building, our new home. And I might take a few moments for those of you who are not so familiar with CAS's work to talk a little bit about what we do and what we're known for. We're probably best known for our lease to buy back work and that model where we buy buildings to stabilize affordable rent for arts and culture organizations. Using tax credit financing, we buy, hold, and steward those buildings and manage them over a 7 to 10 year period by supporting the organization as they raise funds and focus on maintaining their programming, and sometimes even expanding their programming. At the end of that period, we present the organization with the opportunity to buy back their building from CAST, giving them a permanent home and a cultural asset that's deed restricted for arts and culture uses only. So you're probably thinking, like others, that CAST is a grant maker, a funder, right? Actually, we're not. We're not grant makers, but we do help create the opportunity to bring together many individuals and people around the proverbial table, like funders, real estate developers, urban planners, technical consultants, civic and community leaders, and arts and culture groups, of course, that form the rich tapestry that creates a thriving cultural hub. Like many of the groups we work with, CAST is a nonprofit. We create and steward permanent, affordable space for artists, arts and cultural organizations, and creative entrepreneurs across San Francisco and Oakland. If that feels a little elusive, it's because the work requires us to be fluid. And so we appear in many different forms. We often call ourselves a living laboratory because stewarding and creating spaces for arts and culture in one of the most expensive regions and cities in the US can be complex and requires us to bring in all kinds of different tools to use. It's never a one-size-fits-all solution or model. We test and we reconfigure existing structures in new ways to meet those challenges. But our goal is always the same, to create affordable space or solutions that keep arts and culture organizations and artists rooted in their communities, our communities. In the case of Counterpulse and Luggage Store Gallery, our first two pilot projects that began when CAST was founded in 2013, the lease-to-own model was the best solution for these two organizations. But not every arts organization or cultural entrepreneur wants to own or is in the position to manage a building. That's why we created 447 Minna and this hub to provide these affordable space to arts groups that without the added pressure or responsibility of ownership. So you're now thinking, what makes a CAST project? Do you apply? And if you do, how do you apply? We primarily serve small and mid-sized arts and culture organizations, nonprofits, as well as individual artists or creative entrepreneurs, with a particular focus on women-led and BIPOC-led organizations. If you think of a creative community as a densely woven fabric, we help weave together those threads. We connect those working in arts and culture to the proper resources, be they tactical, financial, or social, to provide the means for cultural production. We look for arts and culture partners that have deep investments in their immediate communities or specific neighborhoods, promising creative startups, BIPOC and women-led arts and culture organizations. It's about understanding the priorities and the needs of the artists or the nonprofits we serve and developing a solution with them that fits where they are organizationally. So now you may be wondering, how do we choose whom we work with? And how are we programming this beautiful new space? At the moment, we're focused on supporting Bay Area artist communities and organizations experiencing challenges with regard to their space or even facing displacement. As far as programming goes at 447 Minna, it's something we're developing with the community. It started with our listening sessions last month, and next month we're extending this and continuing this with our program Dreaming Spaces. Dreaming Spaces began in Oakland, and it puts artists and community members together to be able to envision and dream and design space. So it puts them at the center of the process. And we're delighted and excited to be launching Dreaming Spaces here next month in San Francisco at 447 Minna. Stay tuned for more details. And if you're actually interested in participating or being part of one of the design teams, you can email, and you'll see that in the ticker, info@cast-sf.org. At 447 Minna, we welcome a range of arts and culture programming. Practices spanning visual arts to performing arts, contemporary to experimental, and everything in between. We wrap physical space around artists and organizations' needs, specifically those with deep community roots. We want to provide local communities with interactive, engaging art, but for this to be truly a thriving cultural hub, it's key that we provide accessible space and resources that preserve Soma's legacy and diverse history. Some of that programming can be found in our newest arts partners, Women's Audio Mission, you may know better as WHAM, and Push Dance, who join us at 447 Minna as our resident companies on the third and the fourth floors. So next up, we have a video by WHAM to introduce you to their inspiring work, followed by a special performance by Push Dance on the third floor of this building, which will soon transform into dance studios and their offices and their home by the end of this summer.
Less than 5% of the people creating the sounds, music, and media in the daily soundtrack of our lives are women and gender nonconforming individuals. Girls are not getting the messaging they need to be tomorrow's leaders and innovators. We are changing that. Women's Audio Mission, WHAM, inspires and trains over 4,000 women, girls, and gender nonconforming individuals every year to use technology to amplify their voices. WHAM uses music to attract girls to STEM studies and change their relationship with technology, addressing the chronic gender gap in the tech sector. WHAM does this in unique and innovative environments, the only professional recording studios in the world built and run entirely by women and gender nonconforming individuals. Studios where our graduates have recorded and gained critical professional credits with such luminaries as Beyoncé's band, Toro y Moi, Tune Yards, and many more. Together, we are changing the face of sound.
I think a lot of us, when we first come here, we're very reserved and we're very soft-spoken about wanting to, actually practice the equipment and know the space. But the WHAM instructors really encourage us to speak up.
Whenever I walk into the studio or any studio, I usually realize that I'm the only female. I was at a session last week at a different studio around Oakland, and the lead engineer is obviously a dude, but all the people that were the musicians that were a part of it were all dudes, so I was just the only girl there. But I don't know, you kind of have to get used to that if you're in this field.
I think women are so hard on themselves because men are often doubting them all the time. Our staff engineers can go into another studio and they'll be like, oh, Pro Tools, right? It's yes, we use it every day. And, we don't want to mess up, because if we mess up, it's not, oh, they just messed up. It's oh my God, of course, this woman messed up. So if we internalize that negative narrative of ourselves.
Finding a program like this has honestly been really life-changing for me. I've never been in a studio with as many women as I have.
Supporting women's audio mission goes beyond just supporting them. It supports this new stream of women that want to record songs and stories that need to be heard. A mix made by a woman and a mix made by a man is going to sound very different, right? I don't know. There's something about giving us the power to decide and to move these knobs. It's definitely going to change the narrative in ways that we may not even know.
I think women are just trained in our society to think I need to be 200% sure until I put my foot in. That's been something that I've really tried to help interns with and help the girls with in Girls on the Mic, is just jump in. If you mess up, that's gonna be great, because that's gonna be an experience.
I think anytime you bring diversity into a situation, different things get made. I'm 100% certain it's gonna revolutionize what people hear every day.
I think sanctuary is a place of refuge.
The term sanctuary means safe.
Peace is a place where you have freedom, you have ownership.
It means sacred.
When I think of the 447 Minna Street studio with Push.
As an artist, having a home is beautiful.
I just want to see a lot of life.
Let your voice be heard. Babylon's got to fall now. Your ancestors demand it or more. Release the ball and chain or more. Cause no matter what they do, despite what they say, black gold always shine, shine, shine or more. Orekelewa. Shine or more. Black gold always shine. Black gold got to shine. Let it shine.
How amazing was that? To see the inspiring and engaging work of Women's Audio Mission, WHAM, and Push Dance. If you're interested to find out more about either WHAM or Push Dance, please follow the links below in the ticker. Now you know what sort of programming we're looking to have at 447 Minna. So how do you actually reserve space? You can email rentspace@cast-sf.org, which is on the screen here. Matthew McTire, our manager of programming and events, is hosting regular tours and if you want to come in person, and he's available to answer your specific questions. What I'd like to close with now is part of what we're really excited about at 447 Minna is being able to offer an intimate space, here we are, to try new works, to experiment, to highlight emerging artists. We're incredibly lucky to have here someone like that perform in the theater today, right here under our roof, performing an acoustic set right here in our black box. I'd like to introduce Chanelle Ignant, a talented musician who is also serving as the intern program manager for WHAM. Chanelle. Thank you, Chanelle. That was beautiful. In closing, like most of us at CAST, what grounds us in this work is the fact that we started out as artists. In fact, we have an opera singer, former dancers, visual artist, a makeup artist, a former film producer, a writer, and even me. I'm a singer-songwriter. Many of our staff still actively practice their craft alongside our CAST work together. The arts are central to all of us here, and that's why the CAST team is so committed to making sure we keep the arts in our communities, for we understand how essential it is, not just for us personally, but for also the neighborhoods, communities, and cities we know and love. Thank you so much for joining us, for being here, for taking some time out in your day to log on and to hear and learn a little bit more about CAST, and for being a part of our unfolding here at 447 Minna. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about our story, there's another opportunity. Both Julie Phelps, the artistic and executive director of Counterpulse, and I will be conducting and being part of a hybrid event, free, at the Commonwealth Club on March 31st. So if you want to learn a little more about CAST and how we work, and in particular with one of our pilot projects, tune in on March 31st to the Commonwealth Club. In the meanwhile, again, if you're interested, follow us on social media and to stay engaged on the latest news and events. And again, we thank you for all your support and can hardly wait to see you at 447 Minna. Hopefully soon.